NFC teams that have completely gotten after it in the past couple of weeks have been the Washington Commanders and the Minnesota Vikings. And as we preview Sunday's game, we preview today for Sunday's game, I think it's going to be interesting. You've got two teams that, quite honestly, I feel like they're shocking a lot of people, like just in terms of being able to go out and get the wins. And historically have been in pretty tough divisions. The Vikings, NFC North, I don't know, it's kind of weird this year. Honestly, the Packers, I'm not ever counting them out, but the Vikings need to make sure that they can continue to do their thing. And obviously, the Commanders are in a spot where if they don't keep winning, they could be in it. Like, they could be in deep. You've got the Eagles, you've got the Cowboys who are getting it done. The Giants even look good this year. So, yes, if you are the Commanders, you want to keep the winning ways going, as do the Minnesota Vikings. And as we compare the two teams, you'll see that, yes, I know Carson Wentz is on IR and that Taylor Heineke is going to be starting. By the way, Taylor Heineke is an absolute stud. I love me some Taylor Heineke. I think he is going to be, for me, I have given a lot of love to Taylor Heineke in the past. I think he deserves a lot of respect because he is a guy that, especially guys like Terry McLaurin and all them, they all rally around him. They all want to play for him. And again, I know in the past that he hasn't exactly gotten it done. The defense didn't exactly do him a lot of favors last year. Now that defense, hopefully, I think can get their things together. They've got one of the best defensive lines in football. But then you also talk about Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, having those two. J.D. McKissic looks like he will be out. We will get into the injury report in just a second. But the rest of these guys, yes, they've got weapons for days. I think if Taylor Heineke can get them on a roll, it could be pretty interesting. And then on the Minnesota Vikings side of things, Kirk Cousins and them have been playing pretty well on a 5-game win streak right now. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, TJ Hawkinson, the guy they just traded for, that honestly, I think he could get some run this week. I think he could be probably targeted in the red zone packages and in some different things. Maybe if some of the different formations and the plans that the Vikings might want to use him for, specifically some different, like we talked about, formations and play concepts, definitely something to watch out for. Then yes, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, the offensive line that has massively improved, except Ed Ingram. It's been rough. He got absolutely just owned by the Cardinals last week. J.J. Watt and company just getting it done against the former LSU standout. Defensively, the Commanders have one of the best defensive lines in football. They're a lot of fun to watch. They get after it. Then their linebackers, I know they're going to be out without a couple of guys. I think it's Cole Holcomb is one of them that is out. I believe David Mayo is out as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they are able to come back from that. Their secondary is definitely underrated. I'm a huge Cameron Curl fan, have been for years. Benjamin St. Juste, the former Golden Gopher, you got to love him. The Minnesota Gopher out there doing his thing. For the Vikings defensively, yes, you've got Za'Darius Smith and company who look really good. I'm really still waiting for Danielle Hunter to really pop like we expect him to. That defensive line is looking pretty good for the Vikings too, even though I think Dalvin Tomlinson will be out. And like I said, we'll get into the injury report in just a second. But the secondary did what it needed to last week against the Arizona Cardinals. But this could be a tough challenge as they've got a lot of weapons, the Commanders do, and it could be very interesting to see overall. So as we kind of head forward here into the actual all-around bit of things, I do think it's also important to mention that the Vikings are in a spot where this could be a perfect trap game. You talk about the injury report especially, so you're thinking all these guys are out. It's a perfect time to get caught in a trap. The Vikings need to take care of business. So Cameron Bynum was out earlier in the week with a non-injury related, a personal matter. He looks like he's going to be good to go. Jalen Nailor was questionable for the game, or is questionable. He was a DNP for Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, he was a full participant. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's out, did not participate all week long. I think they're still doing some tests and figuring out what's going on with the big man in the middle there. Cameron Dantzler doing his thing, finally getting off, or at least being a full participant on the injury report on Friday. But Za'Darius Smith and Adam Thielen look like they're going to be ready to go, so that's very good to see. Jahan Dotson and company, Cole Holcomb, David Mayo, J.D. McKissic, all ruled out. All of them did not participate this entire week. 4 big-time players there for the Commanders, or at least 4 guys to keep an eye out for. I think that could be definitely something to watch. Again, a huge trap game for a team like the Minnesota Vikings, who every single game they just look like it's just nothing is a blowout. It's never easy. Logan Thomas and Cole Turner. I love Cole Turner too, by the way. I think he's going to blow up too. I think he just needs some time. But they're wow. Looks like everybody else is going to be ready to go here, including Jonathan Allen, the stud, the absolute stud on the inside there. And, as the Vikings and Commanders do get ready to take off things, or at least take each other on, I do also think that there is a couple things you've got to watch out for just in terms of both teams looking to get after it. So for the keys of the game, you talk about the Commanders. I think you got to contain Dalvin Cook. He's one of those guys that he's special in so many different ways, whether it's the screen game, whether it's running between the tackles, jet sweeps, whatever it is. He's just a stud. If you can stop Dalvin Cook and force Kirk Cousins to beat you, usually that's a pretty good sign. And then, yes, doubling up Justin Jefferson. He's already been shut down a couple of times this year. At the same time, he's also kind of like Kobe Bryant was, RIP. You got to love 24 and 8. But you got to double up Justin Jefferson. He's going to get his. He's going to get his targets. But you cannot get discouraged. You have to be able to take care of business against a guy like Justin Jefferson. And then I think you got to attack the rookie on the offensive line for the Vikings. Ed Ingram got owned all game long against J.J. Watt and company for the Arizona Cardinals. It was rough. So if I'm the Commanders, I am going after a guy like Ed Ingram because I think he's going to be, he's not necessarily the weak link on the offensive line, even though he kind of is. He's young, he's learning, he's still got a lot of good things going for him, but for now, I would attack Ed Ingram. He seems to struggle with the bull rush as well as some other things in pass blocking, which is weird because that was his strength coming up out of LSU. So we'll see how he does hopefully get things together, and we'll see how the Commanders do attack him moving forward. On the Vikings, on the Vikings side of things, you have you got to feed Dalvin Cook. It really does start and end for both teams with the running game. Again, Delvin Tomlinson's going to be out, so I did forget to mention that for the Commanders. Got to establish the run game with guys like Brian Robinson and company, Antonio Gibson. Run the ball, see who can run the football, and establish that, because whoever does, I think, will win this football game. Also, you got to get after Taylor Heineke if you're the Vikings. Za'Darius Smith and Danielle Hunter. I'm still waiting for that huge game from Danielle Hunter, so I don't know. He seems to be doing his thing, but hopefully he can continue to come out for the Vikings. And again, Za'Darius Smith, he's honestly one of those players that he's special. He really does elevate a defense no matter where he goes. We saw it with the Packers. We're seeing it with the Vikings. So I think that he could be looking for another big game. Hopefully we'll see what happens there. And then finally, I think you got to use play action, especially if you're the Vikings. You have to see with some of those guys like Cole Holcomb coming out, you got to see if you can suck up some of those linebackers, especially with establishing the run from Dalvin Cook. See if you can throw it in behind him. And TJ Hawkinson, like we mentioned, can be used on a lot of red zone type concepts and formations. And then also you have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and all those guys. See if you can get them in behind. Also, KJ Osborne, definitely somebody that you always want to watch out for. But that's it. That's our Week 9 preview for the the Washington Commanders versus the Minnesota Vikings. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. It helps people find the show. We greatly appreciate all the support that we've gotten and continue to get. You guys are all truly awesome. We love every single one of you. Down in the description below, you'll find all of our social media platforms. So give us a like and a follow there. Also, remember to give us a listen and sub on iTunes. And finally, if you have anything else you'd like us to cover, send us an email at thesportsbp@yahoo.com or put it in the comment section down below, and we would love to cover it. But let us know what you guys think about our Week 9 preview for the Washington Commanders versus Minnesota Vikings.